Indiana women's basketball team gets back on the winning track. Mackenzie Holmes returns, biggest news of the night, but it was a team effort to beat Northwestern as we enter one of the most exciting final weeks of a regular season I've seen. We're going to get you guys caught up on everything from the game, everything to watch in this final week.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? It is Friday, February 18th. This, as always, is Locked On Hoosiers, your daily one-stop shop for everything IU athletics, previews, recaps, news, analysis, men's and women's basketball, football, everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Jacob Rude. Want to thank you guys for stopping in and making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every day. A reminder, we're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where we premiere our episodes every morning at 7 a.m. You guys can hop on over there, chat with fellow Hoosier fans each morning as part of your kind of daily routine as well. As I said, the Hoosiers picked up a win after that frustrating loss in Nebraska. They return to the court on Thursday. Mackenzie Holmes returned to the court on Thursday. Played some in limited minutes, but did return. One of the biggest news items of the night when it comes to the game, but the Hoosiers able to grind out a win against a feisty Northwestern team. We'll recap all that here in just a moment. Want to remind you guys, as always, you can subscribe wherever you listen to Locked On Hoosiers. Also, follow us on Twitter at LO_Hoosiers, on Instagram at Locked On Hoosiers. Let's dive into this one. The Hoosiers come away with a 69-58 victory over Northwestern in front of a pretty loud Assembly Hall crowd. It took them a while to get going. Really wasn't until late in the second half that it seemed like they really got going, but it was a loud crowd, a great atmosphere on the night. As we said, the big story was that Mackenzie Holmes returned. We thought it was coming. It seemed like it would be any time. This past week, she returns to the starting lineup on Thursday. In all honesty, she looked like someone who had missed about a month of action. There was a lot of rust there that she had to shake off, which is why getting her back now is so important, because you have a bit of a stretch run to get some of that rust shaken off before you start entering tournament play. But she plays 24 minutes on the night, 6 points, 6 rebounds. Didn't play to close the game. I think she checked out with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Seemed like she was on a minutes restriction of sorts. But overall, you could see she looked good. She moved well. Just some of that rush she has to get shaken off. But the player of the night for the Hoosiers was Aleksa Gulbe, who was dominant down low, hit some monster shots. She finishes with 20 points and 12 rebounds. It was a return to form for the Hoosiers, both offensively, but more importantly, defensively. It's as I said, a feisty, a tough Northwestern team that they came up against. You can very easily see why they have a win over Michigan. They were coming off a win over Michigan, why they have a win over Iowa earlier in the season. A very talented team, but the Hoosiers hold them to 41% shooting over the course of the game. That includes them. I mean, they shot 53% in the fourth quarter, but the Hoosiers pulled away in that fourth quarter. So the Northwestern's best quarter was also IU's best quarter. So outside of that, it was a dominant defensive display for the Hoosiers. They forced 11 turnovers, but more importantly, scored 17 points off those turnovers. Really made Northwestern pay. It was a veteran win, a veteran-laden win, because just the manner they went about it, the Hoosiers did. Very methodical, got players into foul trouble for Northwestern. 3 different players had 4 fouls, including Courtney Shaw, who one of the better offensive rebounders in the country. got her into foul trouble, got a couple different girls into foul trouble, made life difficult for Northwestern. And then defensively, the intensity was up. The Hoosiers made them work, and Northwestern had some nice baskets. That it's a very good team. They needed that win to for their tournament resume, and they look like a team that was, I don't want to say desperate, but one that knew that they needed to pick up a victory. So IU did well to hold them off. That was a good victory. Turning point. The score honestly is a bit flattering to the Hoosiers. They pulled away late. This was a very close game throughout, and turning point came late in the third quarter. IU was actually down by 2 points, 44-42, I believe. Goulbe gets a 4-point play that really turned the tide of the entire game. IU went from down 2 to up 2. That sparked an 8-0 run to close the quarter. IU went into the fourth up 6. Shortly after that, they blew the doors open with a 10-2 run in the fourth. Featured a nice little steal from Nicole Cardano Hillary, and a fast break spinning layup from Grace Berger, and one layup that got the crowd going. There was a stretch in that fourth quarter where Berger and Goulbe scored 18 straight points for the Hoosiers. Those two took over to guide IU to the victory. Important win to keep atop the Big Ten. It was nice to get back in the win column. Nice to get Mackenzie Holmes back, as we've said as well. We're going to look at a couple specific performances from different players from tonight's win here. Just a moment. It's an all women's basketball podcast today because this is set up for a really exciting finale to the season. Football might be over though, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired head coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you guys get podcasts. Want to send thoughts and prayers to DeMarlo Belcher, his family, all those around him. Former standout IU receiver, one of the greatest receivers in the program's history, was found dead in his vehicle on Thursday. As I said, he was an incredible player. I believe he is second all-time in receptions. He's all over the IU record book. So thoughts and prayers to all those around him as they go through that this week and this weekend. Let's get back to this game. Highlight a couple key performers for the Hoosiers. You got to start with Goulbe, as we said. She finishes the night with 20 points, 12 rebounds for her double-double. She perhaps more than any other player in Mackenzie Holmes' absence has stepped up. That was a big hole the Hoosiers had to fill down low, and Goulbe has been up to the task. She had the big play, as we said, the big three-pointer, the big momentum swinging play to get the Hoosiers going again. This was a back-and-forth game. Northwestern kept making runs every time it looked like the Hoosiers were set to pull away. Northwestern would make a run to get right back in the game, occasionally take the lead. They outscored the Hoosiers in the paint 34-28. That was more due to their lack of three-point shooting, and the fact that their guards were really good at getting to the rim. But the Hoosiers, none of that was Goulbe was her fault, because she finishes with tied for game high honors in points, 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 7 from the line. Enormous performance from her. Really set the tone, got a lot of those Northwestern players into foul trouble on the night. So huge performance from her. Grace Berger, we mentioned, 15 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds. She was 6 of 13 from the field. Just calm, cool, collected. I love watching her play. Uh, she has such a smooth game, especially when she gets into the mid range. Knock down a couple mid range baskets. Just a it's so much fun to watch her. She never seems rattled and always seems composed. And that was the case on Thursday when that was a game that, as we said, back and forth, Northwestern in it the whole time. The Hoosiers had some turnover problems, and Berger had half of the 12 turnovers, but still more than made up for it. She had 5 assists, as we said, um, and a couple big shots in that fourth quarter to help the Hoosiers pull away. The other one that came up with some big baskets in that fourth quarter, Nicole Cardano Hillary. She had 17 points on the night, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a pest as always. Again, we say that in the most endearing way possible. She had a couple big baskets in the fourth quarter, including a corner 3-pointer that kind of felt like the final blow on the night. I think it put the Hoosiers up 11 at the time. She finishes 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line, and knocked down both of her free throws. Nicole Cardano Hillary and Grace Berger combined 12 of 23 from the field, 32 points. Cardano Hillary struggled pretty mightily in that Nebraska game. 4 of 18 overall, I believe, 1 of 10 from the 3-point line. This was a great bounce back performance from her, kind of indicative of the whole team bouncing back. So that was nice to see for both her and the team. Quiet night for Ali Patberg, only 4 points on 1 of 4 shooting. Did have 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Even quiet nights for ladies on this team are still impactful. Keandra Brown minutes went down a little bit. Part of that because Goulby was playing so well. Part of that because Mackenzie Holmes returned. She only played 9 minutes, but scored 7 points, 3 of 3 from the field, knocked down her free throw. Chloe Moore McNeil, again, if you're talking about players who stepped up in Holmes' absence, she's been a big one as well. Played 23 minutes, did not score, but had 4 rebounds, couple of assists, a steal as well. Big minutes out of her. Very much someone the Hoosiers can count on off the bench, which early in the season, the Hoosiers didn't know if they had anybody they could count on off the bench. Now both Keandra Brown and Chloe Moore McNeil are there to help the Hoosiers out, which is really big. Again, if you're trying to find silver linings from Mackenzie Holmes' injury, it's getting big minutes for those two. Seeing Goulbe step up to be a legitimate weapon for the Hoosiers. She always was, but seeing her thrive like this, getting her in this groove, I think is going to be really important, really big for the Hoosiers once they start entering postseason play. Before they get to that, there's a wild final week coming up. Just some final team stats. As we said, Northwestern shot 41% from the field. The Hoosiers, 24-50, 48% from the field. They were 6 of 10 in that fourth quarter, 6 of 7 at the free throw line in the fourth to seal that game away. 17 of 19 at the free throw line. That's not always been a kind place for the Hoosiers this season, men's and women's, but the women's team is capable of performances like this. I don't know. I'd be stunned if the men's team went 17 for 19 at the line in any game. Women's team has struggled a bit at times at the line. They were great there on Thursday to knock down some important free throws to make sure Northwestern stayed at bay. They didn't foul either, really. Northwestern only shot 5 free throws. Hoosiers committed 11 fouls, but they didn't put Northwestern on the line much at all on the night. As we said, forced 11 turnovers, kept the Wildcats off the glass, only 7 second chance points on the night. That was another area that hurt the Hoosiers at Nebraska. So big victory for them. And as we said, sets up a really, really wild final week. They showed a graphic during the game. If you missed it, if you weren't paying attention, the top 5 teams in the Big Ten almost exclusively play each other in this final week of the season, with literally one exception. Otherwise, the 5 teams are going to just battle it out in this final week of action. It sets up one of the wildest, most fun final weeks that could possibly be for a Big Ten regular season. I know the men's team is struggling right now and fighting for their tournament lives, but make sure you guys are watching this women's team because this is set up to be something wild. We're going to go through everything, look at where the standings are after Thursday, preview all of the games that are left for all the teams, get you guys set for what a fun week this is going to be to close out the regular season. This is the time of year that usually I've pretty much given up on my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to the resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. If you guys haven't tried them already, make sure you try the Puffs. You're missing out if you haven't tried them. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They aren't just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy, cinnamony, churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good. These are going to be a new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, 100% real chocolate on these puffs as well. Uh, that's what to me makes them taste exactly like a candy bar. Even with that chocolate, they're low in calorie, high in protein. You can replace your candy bars with these. They're better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Built bars most contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, 17 grams of protein. Compare that to whatever your favorite candy bar is. It's going to be better for you. And you're not even sacrificing taste because there's so many amazing flavors for Built Bar: mint brownie, coconut almond. All new this month is white chocolate cookies and cream. They're delicious. New flavors are coming out all the time. If you think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It'll be delicious and it'll be good for you. So go over to built.com, check out what flavors are available right now. Use promo code LOCKED15, get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. So this women's basketball Big Ten season has been a wild one, and it's going to have a wild ending as well. So your top 5 teams before or after the IU game last night were IU, Michigan, Ohio State, Maryland, and Iowa. All 5 of those teams are ranked. Those were your top 5 in some order. I believe the order might have moved around a little bit after another game we're going to talk about, but those were your top 5 teams. Now, save for one game between Ohio State, they will play Michigan State. Every remaining game for all 5 of these teams is against someone else in the top 5. I earnestly don't think I've ever seen that before. One of the wildest things I can remember. It's going to set up for every game mattering, and it's going to be a really fun ending. Let's go team by team. IU has 3 games remaining now. They will play at home against Iowa on Saturday. They will play at Iowa on Monday, and then they'll play at Maryland on Friday. One of the key things here, and a lot of this can change, if IU and Maryland both win out, so IU beats Ohio State IU beats Iowa both games. Maryland beats Michigan. They beat Ohio State on Thursday. That IU Maryland game is going to be for the Big Ten title. Whoever wins that wins the title. That's one storyline to follow. Michigan, though, will absolutely have a say in this because they play Maryland on Saturday. Then they will travel to Iowa as well. Ohio State and Maryland played on Thursday after the Hoosiers game. Maryland comes away with a 77-72 victory in College Park. So big win for Maryland to keep pace atop the Big Ten. Ohio State now will finish their season at Michigan State. They are about the only team at this point who don't control their own destiny. I'm not sure it would take quite a lot for them to get back into the title picture. But as I said, if they do, it's because other teams are losing. They They can beat Michigan State, but they can't really change a whole lot in the Big Ten title picture now. Maryland has the win over Ohio State Thursday. They will go to Michigan on Saturday, and then they will host IU next Friday. Nobody's going to have a bigger say in this title race than Maryland. Those are the top two teams outside of Maryland is IU and Michigan right now. So those they're going to get their shot. If Maryland wins out, they're your Big Ten champions. So huge stretch for them as well. It's been a season they've struggled at times, but they're going to get their chance to do it. Iowa obviously has the 2 games against IU, and then we'll travel to Michigan as well. Again, another team that is absolutely going to have a say in this race as well. Iowa has one of the most fun players in the conference in Caitlin Clark. If you haven't seen her, she's an absolute blast to watch and somebody you absolutely need to pay attention to. You're going to see her a lot these next 2 games. That Iowa-Michigan game is actually in Iowa City. So Iowa is going to have another big say in this one. Now, I know that was a lot. I was repeating a lot of the same teams. Let's give you the standings to simplify this a little bit. IU is alone at the top, only team with 2 losses in the conference. They are 11-2. We're going to go off losses because everything else is kind of uneven. Maryland, after beating Ohio State, is now at 12-3. Only Maryland and Michigan have 3 losses. Michigan's at 11-3. Ohio State, being dealt that loss, drops into 11-4. Iowa is 10-4. So those 2 have 4 losses. So if Maryland beats Michigan, hands them their 4th loss, and then beats the Hoosiers, they will have theoretically share the title. The Hoosiers could. If IU beats Iowa in both games, regardless of what Maryland does, if my math is right, they will at least win a share of the Big Ten title because they also hold a win over Maryland as well. So I believe they will at least share the title if they beat Iowa in back-to-back games. Michigan just as well, though, could beat Maryland and also share the Big Ten title. I think the way they do it in the Big Ten, the way they've done it in the past with the men's team, is head-to-head doesn't really matter as a tiebreaker. You just share the title. I'm not sure if that's changed, but obviously Michigan has the tiebreaker if one exists over Indiana. It might only exist for Big Ten tournament seeding purposes, but if it exists, the Hoosiers have, or the Wolverines, have the tiebreaker over Indiana. So it'll be interesting to see. I will try to look up to see if there are any tiebreakers like that, but end of the day, this is going to be so confusing and changing day to day that it's impossible to know what's going to happen. We talked about Maryland struggling earlier in the year. They've won their last 8 games. Probably nobody hotter in the Big Ten right now than Maryland. But that being said, they're going to get the 2 toughest challenges possible in Michigan and Indiana to close this one out. So we will keep you updated with every game that matters over the next week, wrapping up with that IU Maryland game next Friday. This is going to be a doozy of a final week for the women's Big Ten. Tune in. The IU women play tomorrow against Iowa. It's senior day. If you haven't already, go check out the Hoosiers. It's going to be your last chance in the regular season. Hoosiers are almost certainly going to host a opening NCAA tournament bracket, basically. But 4 o'clock tomorrow, IU will play Iowa. Unfortunately, it's on Big Ten Plus. You won't be able to watch it. More reason to head on over to Assembly Hall. Senior day, as we said, and hopefully everybody's able to pack out Assembly Hall for that big one. We will be back on Monday to recap that game, get you set for the women's game on Monday against Iowa. They'll play right almost back-to-back. And then we will preview the men's game against Ohio State on Monday as well. A busy time as we near March Madness, but an exciting time. and I look forward to this. This is a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to close out both regular seasons. We'll have you guys covered with everything you need. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, head on over to the Locked On Bets podcast, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Appreciate all the love. This was another huge week for us, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. Subscribe to the podcast. Helps us out immensely. You guys have done more than enough, but if you can just hit that subscribe button, leave a quick rating, all that stuff is just huge for us. Greatly appreciate it. Most importantly, though, guys, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend.